We're here to talk about questions here, right? Biggest questions we have coming up to this season, Dan. And I got a few. I even got a couple wild cards, but I think we have three each, right?
Yep.
So let's roll.
I guess one that really, since we talked about our questions, one overlapped the Eastern Conference, right?
Yeah.
Who is the best team in the Eastern Conference? I have an obvious answer, of course. Maybe you have a different answer. Um, but I think it's going to be a two-team race for the most part. I
Mhm.
saw ESPN, all their experts are either picking the Cavaliers or the New York Knicks.
I agree, but I have a wild card, but go ahead.
Obviously, I'm going to go with the New York Knicks. I think this is probably the most highly anticipated season of my lifetime. I don't think that's too hyperbolic to say, given we made our first Eastern Conference Finals last season in 20 years, and then we fired Tibbs, which was kind of, I wouldn't say polarizing, but I think a lot of fans were happy to see him go because, there's been kind of a ongoing commentary for the past couple of years of his shortcomings and what we don't like about him. And then you now get him fired, and then all of a sudden the media liked Tibbs. It was kind of weird. But we bring in Mike Brown, who's a former coach of the year, saying all the right things, wants to increase the pace, wants to increase the space, wants us to play faster and with some more intensity. And then, of course, you have new roster additions from last season now going into their second year: Michael Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns. And then you bring in all these guys to revamp the bench, which was probably our biggest issue last season, on top of the things you could critique on offense and defense. Bring in Yabu Salev, who was a 76er last year, Frenchman. And then you bring in Jordan Clarkson, who was basically a better version of Campaign, a little more offensively skilled, bigger, but still some of the same characteristics of being like kind of a wild card offensive talent. And so you hope all those things, this team finally being deeper, the injuries, unfortunately, to Jason Tatum and Tyrese Halliburton kind of leaves this conference wide open to now the two teams out of the top three that are left, which is the Cavaliers and the Knicks. And I think with all the things having changed over these past 2 years, it's really coming to a boiling point is, can this Knicks team get it done? Can we finally get over the hump? This has been a slow process for the past 5 years of this team really rebuilding its image, signing Brunson, which ended up being a monumental signing in New York Knicks history. I mean, no one really saw it coming. I mean, Leon Rose probably thinks he saw it coming, but I mean, to this extent, Jalen Brunson being an MVP caliber talent, I don't think anyone really saw that happening. And then trading Randall and finally getting Cat, and Cat's been great. And then the big trade for Michael, OG. Everything's been done. The decisions have been made. There's really no big decision left that the Knicks can really make. This is the team. This is the team to get it done. And this is probably the best chance they will have in the tenure of this core to finally make the finals and win a title.
I agree 100% that this is the biggest, probably the most pressurized New York Knicks season since Patrick Ewing when Jordan retired, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's really no excuse to not make the finals, which is really hard to put on a first, it's thankful he's obviously a veteran head coach. Could you imagine if they hired someone with no head coaching experience, like to just kind
Right.
of jump
Yeah.
into this? I mean, there were like rumors that there would be some candidates like that. Obviously, Jason Kidd was the one they really wanted, right? Listen,
Yeah. I mean,
man.
they had a wide search. They were kind of asking whoever.
Yeah.
Even Don Staley from South Carolina got
I,
an interview as well.
I'm going to be consistent in what I have said about this team for 2 years. I have the Cleveland Cavaliers coming out of the East and as the best team in the Eastern Conference. I think they were ravaged with injuries in the postseason last year. I believe Kenny Atkinson is a better coach than Mike Brown. I understand the history of the Cleveland Cavaliers in the playoffs. I understand the history specifically against the Knicks, although I think that series is kind of irrelevant. Kind of irrelevant, not fully irrelevant, kind of, because you have two different coaches now. in that series. I think a big reason actually why the Knicks won those series was because of Tom Thibodeau and the kind of the grit that the Knicks had in those series. Mitchell Robinson also, as I am getting a text, so I hope you didn't hear that. But I will say the thing is with this Knicks team is I think they are way too small, specifically on the bench. I think their depth is improved, but not necessarily great. I think that's fair to say. Yabusele, I like, right? Jordan Clarkson, I think I was a avid believer in the Knicks bringing him in, being a microwave scorer off the bench. This is not six man of the year Jordan Clarkson though from a few years ago. I know a lot of Knicks fans don't watch the Utah Jazz, so they should know that.
Who does, to be
Yeah,
honest?
exactly. Who does? To be fair. Um, but I was having actually a thought yesterday in the shower. I was like, should I go with the Knicks to come out of the East? Because you know what? I've doubted this team for a few years now, and like Jalen Brunson always seems to kind of prove me wrong, right? Like Brunson, he obviously had that game winner versus the Pistons last year. He's a guy that I could totally see leading a team to the NBA Finals. And to be honest, Donovan Mitchell, he's been on the Utah Jazz, he's been on one seed Jazz teams, on a one seed Cleveland team, and it's like they did lose to the defending Eastern Conference champion, and they were, some people argue, a torn Achilles away from winning the whole thing. And the Knicks also lost to that team. So it's important to note that. But I look at I just thought the Knicks got so lucky last year in the playoffs in regards to that Celtics series. That was the dumbest series I have ever seen a basketball team play. I I saw it as a fluke, and I'm just gonna say it. I just, not necessarily the series against Indiana, not necessarily the series against Detroit. I watched a lot of Knicks basketball last season. That team looked out of sync a lot of the year. You can blame Tibbs for that. You could blame new players for that. I blame the fact that they overrated Mikal Bridges and his performance did not live up to that trade last season. The hope is that Mike Brown is going to fix everything offensively with Mikal Bridges. I've seen Mikal Bridges play for a few coaches now, including the coach that he was going off with, Jacques Vaughn. And I didn't think Jacques Vaughn was a good coach. I'm just saying, like, I've seen Mikal Bridges play basketball for a few years now, and to me, last year was the Mikal Bridges that I see, and I think we're gonna get the same thing. I think we're gonna get the exact same thing. He may get more offensive touches, he may get more explosive games, but I just feel like, you know, this team, you know, last season to me, that Celtics series was so fortunate for them in those first two games. In game three, they went back to the Garden, they got blown the hell out, and then once Tatum got hurt, I'm not saying that's why they won the series. I think the Boston Celtics stupidity is why they lost the series. And if you're the Knicks, there's nothing you can do about that. I'm just saying, I think the Knicks are the sexy pick to go to the finals. They're like, oh, it feels good going down. I love it. They're like, it's like junk food. Like, you really like the idea of the Knicks being in the finals. It's especially after a Pacers Thunder series, and no one wants a Thunder Cavs or a Nuggets Cavs NBA finals with no LeBron James. Like, I get it, but I just think new coach, a lot of pressure this year. The fact that they were durable in the playoffs last season, like guys didn't get hurt, and there's guys on this roster that get injured. Like OG Anunoby. Brunson has had some injuries, but he's usually pretty good in the postseason. And Cat, he's had his fair share of injuries. Mitchell Robinson, you're already hearing stuff about him right now, and they need him. So there's just a lot of concerns I have, and the what really pushed it over the edge to me was because I really did consider the Knicks as a team to make the finals this year. In fact, maybe even win it. Like if the Knicks go to the finals, I think they're home court. Because if the Knicks go to the finals, that proves to me they're by far the best team in the Eastern Conference, right? And their home court advantage is going to be tough, and they always beat Denver. It looks like they play really well against them. So if they face Denver, I mean, I probably would take the Knicks in that series with the home court advantage that they have. But there was a lot of things, and they have to make it to the finals this year. And if you don't make it to the finals, where do you go from there? Because it's like next year, the Celtics are going to be back, the Pacers are going to be back, Orlando will probably be better. I don't know what's going to happen with Atlanta this year. The East is going to get better. So, because the East really can't get much worse. So, I know you don't want to hear it. I get it. I know you don't want
No,
to hear it.
no, you make some good points. There's definitely a lot has to go right, of course, for any team to make a great run, to the finals, to the championship. Look at Milwaukee, right? They had one, we look back at the year because it's weird,
Mm-hmm.
that they've had so
Let me just
much.
say to Nick fans listening to me right now, I thought the Dallas Mavericks were not going to make the playoffs the year they made the finals. So I don't know what I'm talking about. So,
It's a
you know,
great caveat.
you have a you have something to think about, like, oh, he's just a Nets fan that's upset. Um, you
No,
know,
but you do make some points. I think Cleveland, obviously, when you look at their roster, they are built to be an elite team. And we remember last year they started the season 15-0, end up winning 64 games, most successful season they've had without LeBron James on the roster. They flame out in the playoffs partly because of injury, partly because the Pacers were just on one, obviously, and I saw that firsthand. Um, how good that team was and how crazy Halliburton's run to the finals was. Those are the two teams. I think Orlando. Some people
yeah, that's
like
my wild card
Orlando,
team right there.
and
It's Orlando.
they look really good on paper. They looked
Mhm.
really good in the preseason. As far as you want to look into preseason basketball,
Yeah,
um, the addition to Desmond Bain really makes them a more dynamic offensive team. And of course,
yeah,
Paolo and Franz are still coming into their own as superstars in this league. So that's obviously going to be a team in the mix as well, for sure. Because if they were a great defensive team last year, if they can just up their offense and their shooting, they're right there. If they stay healthy, of course, they'll be in the mix as well.
yeah.
I really like Cleveland's signing Lonzo Ball. I think that he's going to
I
be
like
a
it too.
really big factor if he can stay healthy
Yeah.
throughout the season
Hmm.
and kind of give an alternative playmaker to Garland.
Yeah.
And you could take advantage of Garland being more of a scorer as well as just being a playmaker when you have Ball in there because he can play defense and he can facilitate very well. And of course, Evan Mobley,
Hmm.
getting better and better every year, was Defensive Player of the
Weird,
Year last
weird,
year.
weird comments from Evan Mobley recently. I don't know if you saw that.
I actually have not.
He said something about I'm paraphrasing, but he basically was kind of questioning, not possibly not getting the ball in the postseason last year,
Oh boy.
which had me worried. And that's why I was thinking about the Knicks. But I just I just think that Mikal Bridges trade, man. I really do think that was a big mistake by them. And I'm just going to continue to say it until they make the finals. Because I said it when we did a pod to talk about that. If they make the finals, they don't even have to win it. I was like, if they make the finals, the Mikal Bridges trade is a win. So I'm going to continue to say it until it happens. And I was just a firm believer that, all right, cool. He came up big in the postseason. He also stunk for most of the games and then would get the big steal. Great. I don't know if that's worth your whole future, especially when Giannis wanted to go to your team this summer and you weren't able to put up a package because you traded for this guy. So that's just my thoughts. I will say they have Cleveland's number. I think a Nick fan is not scared of Cleveland. And they were terrified of Boston and they got it done. I don't think
Right.
Jalen Brunson's scared of Cleveland. In fact, I think Brunson's gonna have a field day against that backcourt. Um, when it comes to the Mike Brown decision, I see it because you're basically hoping he can do what he did with Sacramento with Fox and Sabonis with two better players with Brunson and Cat.
Hmm.
I think Cat's comments the other day about what position his role on the team
Yeah,
and
what
his
his roles.
position was kind of weird. Um, I don't really know what that means. I'm not gonna look too much into it. Um,
I think that's just honestly, it's just the fact of the matter. Cat last year was new to the team and kind of had to figure stuff out,
yeah.
and was able to had a great year. And then just now his second year with the team, you think there'd be some a little more familiarity, and there is, I guess, to the playing with the core of Brunson, OG, and Michael. But now he's got to learn some new things as well
Hmm.
under Mike Brown's system. And like you mentioned, Sabonis, I think he wants to implement some of those offensive sets and stuff that he would run with Cat, having Cat being sort of a hub and being because he's I think a pretty good passer for a big.
Yeah.
He's not Jokic level, obviously, or even Sabonis, but bringing Jalen Brunson off ball has been a major focal point because I think that's one of the biggest obvious criticisms of Tibbs' offense was that it was too heliocentric to Jalen Brunson. And like Jalen Brunson, as great as he is, cannot shoulder the entire offensive weight of a team, and he shouldn't have to with how much offensive talent there is on this team. So I think he's going to have to, it's going to be an adjustment period for everybody because even in the preseason, there were times where it looked kind of clunky, people not really knowing, hesitant where they should be on offense. And I think that's just something the Knicks are going to have to deal with. And that's luckily, that's why we play 82 games. They have the whole season to figure this out. As long as they get to the end of the season healthy, they're going to be top two, top three, at least in the East record wise. I think all those things will work out. I think Cat's just, just thinking out loud, talking about what his role is going to be. I think he'll figure it out. He's a great player and he's skilled. He'll figure it out.
What'd you think of Matt Barnes' comments about Mike Brown?
Um, Mike Brown, obviously, he's had a long NBA career. He's been in some good situations, coached LeBron and Cat in the Cavs first stint. Um, and had that really bad, really short tenure with the Lakers. I don't think Matt Barnes is, out of line. He's speaking from his experience of what he's known of Mike Brown. But Mike Brown's been in this league a long time. I think that time he spent as an assistant in Golden State really helped him and changed his outlook and his strategies because he used to be known as just a defensive coach
Yeah.
back in the day, and that's why those Cavs teams um, defensively were really good. And just offensively, it was just all LeBron. But and then the Lakers, were kind of a mess with their roster, the Nash, Dwight Howard stuff, Kobe later in his career. That obviously didn't work out. But he goes to Sacramento with a roster that's not, doesn't jump off the page, and he was able to take them to a really good season. And of course, obviously, it hasn't really worked out, and the Kings are kind of in a weird spot now. Uh, but I think that experience post, that Laker tenure, which is what Matt Barnes mostly is talking about, um, I think it's made him a better coach, and I think his personality, I think, fits this team more um, than Tibbs's rigid style and kind of not really willing to bend. Mike Brown's kind of like a player's coach, and I think that really mends with the
Well,
kind of guys we
Mikal
have.
Bridges apparently needs that.
I think Michael Bridges hated Tibbs, honestly. I think him and Deuce McBride really did not like Tibbs,
Wow.
and they didn't. And you could see if you look back at some of the
You
things
know
they
who
said.
didn't hate Tibbs? Dante DiVincenzo.
Josh Hart and I think Jalen Brunson are also big Tibbs
Yeah.
guys, obviously. I
Their
mean, why?
best player loved the coach,
I mean,
which
what?
is a
What?
big reason why. Here's the thing. I don't mean to cut you off. It's just I disagree
No,
with the
I'm good.
point of I just thought Tibbs's identity with the Knicks was crucial. I really did. And I understand the offense. The offense was pretty good last year. Actually, the issue with the team was the defense. And they didn't really seem connected. And obviously, the injuries that they suffered in the postseason a few years ago, that's going to fall on Tibbs because the amount of minutes they play. I think when I talked about durability earlier, Mike Brown's not playing these guys 40 minutes. He's not going to do that.
Yeah,
And that'll help. These guys aren't going to be so beat up by the postseason, and I think that's important because you know what? The healthiest team we have seen, my Brooklyn Nets included, the healthiest team makes the finals, right? The Indiana Pacers were healthy. They were deep. They made it to the finals. Oklahoma City, healthy, deep, made it to the finals. Chet Holmgren plays like 20 games like every regular season, and it doesn't matter because he made nobody
yeah.
talks about it.
He made it to the postseason and
Nobody
he
talks
was
about
very
it.
good. Yeah,
Nobody talks about it. So that's very important. Um, I just thought Tibbs was super important to that team and the identity. We're going to see with Mike Brown if that's different. I agree with you. But listen, the big question I have is how's Mike Brown going to do without having the best coach in New York not by his side in Jordy Fernandez?
Hey, Jordy Fernandez so far has proven to be a good coach for whatever situation the
I
Nets are
tell you
going through
what,
right now.
I would have the Knicks in the finals. I would have the Knicks winning the championship if Jordy Fernandez was the coach. I'm dead set.
That's some
And
high,
I
high
don't
praise.
want to bring my team into it too much. But that is he was on the staff of those Sacramento Kings, and I spoke to Kings fans on Twitter.
Hmm.
When Jordy Fernandez left, they were devastated. They were really upset about it.
Hmm.
And Mike Brown gets fired like the first month of the season in Sacramento. Don't mean to scare anybody. I'm just saying. I'm not saying Mike Brown didn't deserve his coach of the year or anything like that. I think the Sacramento
Yeah, yeah,
situation's a mess. I think there's a lot of reasons to why that didn't work out. I'm just saying that is a fact.
yeah. Just a
Jordan Fernandez was on that staff.
last note. I think you're right. I'm forever grateful for Tibbs and what he did to help revive this franchise. I mean, we lived through some really tough years at the end of the Melo tenure and the
Hmm.
few years in between before we signed Randall and then eventually Brunson. He did mold this Knicks team to his style, to his personality, and that worked for a
Yep.
long time. And I think just the changes they made, partly because they kind of had to when they lost Hartenstein for through no fault of their own, they couldn't offer him
Yep.
as much money through the CBA as Oklahoma City. They were kind of forced to, not forced, but encouraged to make changes in a Eastern Conference that looked very open. And in those changes, you kind of changed much of the personality of the team. It's no longer this hard-nosed defensive, we're going to kill you physically and kill you on the boards. It's not really what they are anymore. Mitchell Robinson obviously is still a great offensive rebounder, and he's going to be crucial, which is why they're trying to load manage him to get him through the year. Um, but we're now kind of an offensive finesse kind of team. That's kind of the guys that we have. So Tibbs, I feel like no longer kind of fit that, and that's why his style looked like it just didn't work with the personnel on the team. And I think that's probably the major difference people are hoping with Mike Brown, that he more fits the team and that translates to more wins and, a team that can finally get it done.
This is why it's hard to build a championship team in New York because if you're a GM and you're there for a while and you have a couple disappointing seasons, guys want you fired. They want you to make changes, and I think it's important to not be driven to make changes because of the pressure of a fan base all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought, I actually was very pro what Leon Rose was doing before he made that Mikal Bridges trade. He wasn't making the trade for DeMar DeRozan. He wasn't making the trade for Zach LaVine. He wasn't making the trade for Donovan Mitchell. He wasn't giving, even though I thought that probably would have been a better move than Mikal Bridges. You know what I mean, though? Like he didn't. He was waiting, and that's what I thought he was gonna do with, say,
Hmm.
Giannis became available and pounced. Obviously, he felt pressure to do something, and then he made a move, and now they're all in, right? And now, if they even somehow get Giannis at this point, they're really all in because then at that point, the team is just three players and then a bunch of dudes, which I don't think is sustainable for winning.
Yeah,
So,
it'd be tough.
especially in today's NBA, I think 10
Yeah.
years ago, maybe, but not in today's NBA. So, you see it in all around New York sports. The New York Giants, right? The GM and the coach, they wanted them fired last year, right? They draft the franchise quarterback this summer. This is why you can't give up on dudes so early, right? And a
Hmm.
big reason, like I really wanted Tibbs to kind of see this all the way through. But when you make a trade for Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns, Towns played under Tibbs, right? Didn't really work out in Minnesota for whatever reason. Maybe it was a Jimmy Butler thing, although Tibbs was fired in Minnesota and Cat was still on the team, so I'm sure there was some say. And, Mikal Bridges didn't seem to like him either. So
Yeah, for sure.
it's tough, but
And we'll see. And
we'll see what
luckily
happens.
we get to see it right away. Tomorrow the Cavs and the Knicks play each other.
Yep.
They'll be without Josh Hart most likely.
Yeah.
We'll see if Mitch plays or not. I hope he does, just to see what it looks like. He
Yeah.
had a ball against Jared Allen and Evan Mobley a few years ago. Obviously, that's a few years ago. Um, but we'll get to see what this looks like. Um,
Why
I'm
aren't the
ready
Knicks
for.
playing tonight? What a missed opportunity by the NBA. Like seriously, this is the team that most people have coming out of the East. I would say I'm in the minority. Um, it's New York. Like what are we doing?
They
We have
chose they
we
chose
have
four
four
Western
West
Conference,
Coast
yeah,
teams.
four
What are we
Western Conference
doing,
teams.
NBA? What are we doing? What are we doing, Adam Silver? Who's trying
Well,
to make a European
that
thing going on here?
that
God,
could
what
that
are
could
we
be
doing?
that could be a whole nother episode on Adam Silver and his decisions in the
The
NBA.
Yankees aren't in the World Series right now. Like, what are we doing? There's not
Yeah,
even an East. Well, Toronto. Like, you got a Canadian team in the World Series, right? And then there's no football on tonight. What are we doing?
yeah, it was weird. New team
Disgrace.
KD new in Houston. We
Yeah,
can
that
talk
leads
about
us to
them.
our next questions.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
I think we have different opinions on Houston right now.
We do. I think we do.
So go ahead. You say yours.
Uh I I can't help but really like this Houston team. And I think this is probably the best opportunity KD will have, probably the last opportunity as well, to prove that he can be the best player on a very good championship level team. And that's something that he hasn't been able to do since he left Golden State. And that's ultimately, I think, the thing that's been the reoccurring narrative about his career. You know, yes, he won those titles with Golden State, but we give a lot of that credit to Steph Curry and the culture. They kind of just plugged him in, and he was an excellent. Now he has the Finals MVPs for it because he was so good. But when we look at the Brooklyn tenure and how tumultuous it was, and obviously you saw it firsthand, everything and that happened with that team, Harden, Kyrie, and then he picks to go to Phoenix, and they go just a little too far once they trade for Bradley Beal, and it ends terribly. They didn't make the playoffs last year. Um, Now he's in this situation, right? Where like, all right, this is a great situation. You have a young Sengun, Amen Thompson, Ime Udoka, who has completely changed the culture there in Houston. You know, post Harden, they were really bad, and they've drafted some young players. Obviously, Jalen Green, they waited to see if he could make that step, make that leap, and he didn't. Now you have Kevin Durant, who, even at his advanced age, is still a very good, he's still a top 10 player. I think this is the best supporting cast he's had since Golden State, really, if you look at 1 through 10. Of course, he had the big three in Brooklyn, but you have a lot of young players, wings, offensive talent that can help make this team a real threat to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I know Oklahoma City was fantastic last year. There's really no reason to think they won't be fantastic this year. But of course, we've seen teams not go to finals consecutively. We're in this era where a new team makes the finals every year. So I think if you look at the Western Conference, I think a lot of people like Denver, and there's many reasons to like Denver. I think Houston is right there as the biggest threat to the Oklahoma City Thunder.
So I disagree. I think it's Denver, but I will say Houston on paper. I agree with most of the things you're saying. I think, and you're right to think this way. I just have questions. That's all. I just have questions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily. I think we're actually pretty much on the same page about this. It's just I just have some questions to think about
Sure.
because on paper this Rockets team is deep. They're big. They're extremely talented. They were the 2 seed last year, and they have one of the best coaches in the league. Who is the leader on this team?
That's a good question.
It's Kevin Durant.
It is Kevin Durant.
How has that gone for like half a decade now?
Notoriously has not gone well.
And that's with veteran players and veteran teams. This is a young team. Now, there's a lot of reasons it could work. Kevin Durant's never had this much defensive talent on his team. He's playing shooting guard.
Yeah, that starting
Like
lineup's insane.
that's, and I'm interested and intrigued. I think that could work. I just don't know if he's quick enough to guard these shooting guards. I don't know if he's going to, but I
Yeah.
think it's interesting. And obviously he's not going to close games there. He's going to, they're going to go a lot smaller. They got rid of the Jalen Green issue. They replaced Jalen Green with Kevin Durant. It was a no-brainer move for Houston. They didn't give up
Hmm.
anybody. Reed Shepard, didn't really get an opportunity all last year. He's going to get opportunities this year with Fred VanVleet being hurt.
Hmm.
Although Fred VanVleet was a leader on the team, I think, and now you could cross that off.
Well, he'll be there in spirit on the
Yeah,
sideline
yeah, he'll be there
until
in
until he
spirit on
gets
the
healthy. Yeah.
sideline, but you need that floor general, I think, and you're asking a contender. Reed Shepard is going to probably is he starting?
No,
Who's starting?
they're starting everyone. Amen Thompson is going to be kind of their starting point guard
Yeah,
right now, and it's going to
and
be
I just
KD and then Jabari, Sengun, and Steven Adams are going to
that's
stay
a
with the double
2K
big.
team.
To do
That
that against
that
the
that's you
defending champions
making.
is it's an interesting choice. I guess they're kind of pressed for it because the Fred VanVleet injury, and then I got to throw Reed Shepard, who barely played last year, right
Yeah,
into the
I knew
mix
he wasn't going to
starting.
start. I'm just saying I think the
Yeah,
ideal hope is that he would be the guy that kind of proves that he can maybe do that. But I
it's a
just
lot
think
to
they
put
need a
on,
floor general
still
and
a rookie
some
in
space.
some ways.
Yeah, exactly. So I just have questions. Plus, if Durant gets hurt, I guess it wouldn't be that big of a deal because like
They would look
they
similar
they
to
they
what they were last
yeah,
year,
yeah,
more or
yeah.
less.
So, he kind of puts him over the top, I guess, in that way. But I don't know, man. There's just those are questions I have, and in a tough Western Conference, if you have a few bad weeks, like Houston didn't really have a few bad weeks last year. They were pretty consistent the entire season.
Hmm.
As much as Durant going down, you have depth and you have a great coach to deal with that. He is the best player on this team. Like, so if he goes down, oh, you don't have your best player. You know what I mean? And we've
Yeah,
seen listen, I've been consistent about this. Kevin Durant was the least to blame in the Brooklyn debacle. He gets a lot of it, but he was least to blame in my opinion. It was mostly Kyrie and Harden bailed. I mean, that's just what it was. I mean, you saw Durant in the Netflix series recently
yeah.
kind of be like, talk to Harden about it,
Ask him why.
ask him why.
Ask him what
So
happened.
I think
Yeah.
KD gets a lot of, and then even Phoenix too. Like when he got to Phoenix, Aiton, Durant, Chris Paul, Booker made sense. Then they traded for Bradley Beal. Doesn't make sense. Like
Yeah.
poor roster construction. Part of that is on him too. This Houston team doesn't have that issue. They don't have an issue with roster construction, I think, even though I think that they're lacking in point guard play. Hilarious that he's in Phoenix. They don't have a point guard. Goes to
And now he's in
Houston.
Houston. They
They don't
don't
have
have
a
a
point
point
guard.
guard.
But they do have an elite coach in Ime Udoka who has experience with Kevin Durant, has had success with Kevin Durant in Brooklyn that first year. So they're probably fine. It's just I think there's questions. And I think when you have a deep Western Conference, you're going to have the Lakers, you're going to have the Clippers, right? You're going to have Denver, name them.
Yeah.
This is a really deep, you know, this is a deep conference. I mean, you have bad teams with talent. Like Sacramento's a bad team.
But
They have like
you still have
good
DeMar DeRozan and
players.
Zach LaVine. Yeah, you
Like
still
there's
have
just
offensive. Yeah,
even like Utah, right? I mean, like, have you seen Ace Bailey so far? He looks pretty filthy. Like, they
Utah's
have
losing on
Laurie
purpose.
Markkinen. They
I've, I've,
Will Hardy, I like.
yeah, I've
Uh,
told people I'm like Utah has. I mean, Colin Sexton's gone, but they have
yeah,
a lot of young talent. Keontae George is great
yeah.
as a young player. They have talent. Laurie Markkinen's really good. They're
San
just
Antonio may not make the playoffs,
yeah. I think they get in there at the
I do
bottom,
too,
uh,
but
but
they
yeah, with
may not make the playoffs,
yeah, I mean not.
and they have Victor Wembanyama.
It's an insane conference.
So
Yeah.
you know, it's really interesting because I just as much as I like Kevin Durant's game, and you just can't ignore that he's also just like the king of unhappy teams. He just is. The teams look miserable the longer he's there. And it sucks, but it's just something you can't ignore. And I don't think that's 100%. I will say though, I think part of the reason that's the case is because he's kind of the only guy on the team. Not the only guy, but like those teams don't usually have a lot of depth or defense. And it's clear Kevin Durant talked about it recently when talking about championship teams. It's like he clearly does not value defense as much as
He doesn't.
other teams.
Yeah.
So this Houston team's not going to have a defensive issue. And that's
No, they
why
shouldn't.
it's a good idea that Kevin Durant does not run basketball teams because when he puts his foot down on teams, it really goes badly. And yeah,
Yeah, I think just the notion that this team with no functional off. I mean, they were terrible offensively against Golden State in the playoffs, and they still almost forced. They forced Game 7. They almost came back down 3-1 against a Warriors team with Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and company. You take that defensive identity. They were fourth in defense efficiency last year. They won 52 games as Jalen Green and Sengun being as their best offensive players. I think just naturally you swap out Jalen Green for Kevin Durant. As long as Kevin Durant can maybe play 70 games, 70, and that's a high ask these days for the injury history that he has. Basically every year since the Achilles, he's get something.
yeah,
But as you mentioned, this team is built to withstand that. And I know that they have the injuries for Van Vliet. Dorian Finney-Smith also is not going to be ready to play. But I think this team is deep enough. They have a lot of young talent. Tari Eason off the bench, Jabari Smith Jr. They have a lot of talent. I think all he has to do is score
yeah.
and be Kevin Durant.
They also could have an issue. They got rid of Cam Whitmore and stuff. He was a talented guy that was barely playing. They
Yeah,
might have a too many guys problem too.
that I think people were saying that like there's a lot of guys on this team that you like. Clint,
And
they
they're
brought
all
back
like
Clint
the
Capella as well.
same. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And they're all like on the same level of like where each guy may think I'm better than this dude. That could lead to problems.
speaking, I think they
Yeah.
didn't. Yesterday was the extension for the deadline for rookie extensions. They did not extend Tari Eason, so he will become a free agent. I believe
Yeah.
at the end of this season or the end of next season.
Which is complicated now with free agency, guys not getting paid, cap space out there. So yeah. All right, my next question is about Atlanta. Is this Trae Young's last chance?
It's a very good question. This is, I think, the best roster. And when you look at the defensive talent, they've been able to construct around Trae Young, probably since he's been there. I know they've had some good runs before, especially in 2021 they made the conference finals. But the trouble with this team has always been defense because Trae Young, as great as he is offensively, is just almost an unwilling defender. I mean, obviously he has because of his size and his athleticism, he's never going to be a great defender, but he doesn't seem to put much effort. Similar to what we say about Luka, but he is a great offensive talent. So what they've done now is they've been able to draft some guys, Risa Jalen Johnson, bring in guys that are young, can play defense, or athletic, things that Trae Young is not. And that can help kind of compensate for Trae Young's weaknesses, and that can help put the team, into a better space because Trae Young, I think if you look at his numbers, they're fantastic. He's consistently 24, 25 points per game. He even had, I think, a near like 30 point per game season, and he's double digit assist every year. But because of the deficiencies with the rest of the roster, some of the guys that they've had prior, and not a clear second star as well, they have just always fizzled out throughout the season, even at times when they looked good. And I think that's still a worry this year that it's going to look good in the beginning, and at some point, either a big injury or it's just a bad losing streak, and then all of a sudden it kind of falls apart, and they end up back in the play-in where they've been, basically every single season.
Well, I think the good news for Hawk fans, I think they're in a pretty good position just in case if Trae Young doesn't work out or like they need to move off of Trae Young, they're not really in the gutter,
No, not at all.
especially with that Pelican trade. And
I
like,
texted you on draft night because it blew my mind when they announced it. I said
yeah,
they traded, for anyone who doesn't know, the Pelicans traded their pick in next year's draft unprotected to move up a couple spots to take was it to take Jeremiah Fears or I'm sorry, I'm blanking on
No,
the
it was what's
to,
his name? The 13th pick. Oh God,
yeah,
kill me.
I blanked on his name. I should have looked it up prior.
The fact that we don't know it just kind of proves that was a dumb trade. Hold on.
I
Uh,
usually watch the top five in the draft, and I used to watch the
oh
draft
really?
religiously.
You didn't watch number 8, Jaeger Demon? Jaeger Dahmer? Right.
I did not.
Okay.
I used to watch
Um,
religiously. Thankfully, I don't have to.
yeah,
The
you don't
Knicks.
have to. Your team is like good. It's crazy. Hold on.
Hey, I had to
I'm
watch
losing my
Kevin.
mind. I can't see. I
I have
need
to
to
watch.
find
I
out
had to
this
watch
one.
Kevin Knox, Frank Ntilikina, taken in the lottery. So
Yeah, I
I've
mean,
been there.
listen, you know what's funny is Joe Dumars, you know, I remember Stephen A talking about how more teams need to hire Joe Dumars back in like
Uh,
2015.
why specifically?
I remember when the Nets hired Sean Marks, he got upset about it. Um, and mentioned like Joe Dumars being like a candidate. Meanwhile, Joe Dumars like put together that Josh Smith, Brandon Jennings, uh, Greg Monroe, Andre Drummond
Detroit
Piston
Pistons.
team with
Yeah,
Mo Cheeks as the coach. He was a
it was it was
disaster.
it was Derek Queen. That's who they
Derek Queen,
that's who
yes.
they traded for.
I knew it was Queen. I just didn't know it was. Yeah, and quite frankly, Derek Queen might be really good.
Yeah, he
And he
might.
could
It's
prove
just
us to be stupid and stuff. It just doesn't make sense to give up an unprotected pick to move up just a few spots more to the 13th pick. It just doesn't make any sense.
especially when most likely the Pelicans will not make the playoffs.
Yeah,
I know Zion looks great,
can he
and
play 50 games?
that's what's
50.
yeah, that's what we're gonna have to see. And like most likely, even if like the threshold to make the playoffs was like 45 games,
Yeah.
so just to make the play in 45.
Yeah.
That's what they'd have to do with Zion
We're talking a lot
doing
about the
all.
Pelicans right now. But they deservedly should have gotten ripped for that draft, unlike my team, which was stupidly fucking ripped for the draft. But let's
But
but
back to
back
the
to
Hawks.
Atlanta. Yeah,
Back
yeah.
to the Hawks. Yes. Um. Yeah, I think the Trey Young kind of story. It's always going to be attached to Luka Doncic because they were traded for each other on draft night.
Hey, you know what?
But they
Dallas
kind
traded him.
but Dallas traded Luka. So in a
And
way,
Nico Harrison is the luckiest man on earth that they got Cooper. I know we're not talking about Atlanta, but I have to talk about this. I'm so fucking annoyed Cooper Flag is on the Mavericks. Because I'm watching him and I'm like, he's so fucking good.
he's
He's a
really good.
fucking animal. And this asshole gets him and
But
gets to keep his fucking job.
yeah,
I'm just blown away. But meanwhile, people rip my general manager and people rip their own general managers for making like smart. Fuck off. That's what I said that
hey,
night. I said,
you know,
fuck off.
ping pong balls.
It's fucking stupid, but go ahead.
Yeah.
And you know what actually pisses me off is this is the second time they've gotten fucking lucky in the lottery. I'm cursing a lot. I don't care. I don't give a shit. They got lucky with Derek Lively because they tanked their season,
Right.
right?
Yes. To
They
to
got
keep the
lucky with
pick.
Derek
To keep the
Lively.
pick.
They got
Yes.
ripped for it. Ended up being the right move. They traded Luka Doncic, and now they have a star for the next 15, 20 years. Unless they trade his ass, but I guess he plays defense,
I
so.
mean, in today's NBA, I mean, unlikely he'll play 15, 20 years, but who knows? And of course,
That's the
they
trade.
still have Anthony Davis as well. He's still
That's
there.
that's the trade that even if Dallas wins a championship, I will still say that was a stupid trade.
It'll forever be a stupid trade.
Yes. And that's
Uh,
not me being ignorant or stupid. He
it's
could have
Luka
got
Doncic.
more if he was going to do it. And
If you're gonna trade Luka Doncic, you should have got a huge haul of
yes,
picks and players. Now,
at
AD
minimum.
is no slouch,
Yeah.
but he's a little older, and
He got hurt
actually,
in his first game in
I mean,
Dallas.
I almost feel bad for the guy, man. Like
Kyrie gets hurt like 2 weeks after that because
yeah.
newsflash, Kyrie gets hurt when he's the guy.
Yeah, he was
All
playing
right.
like 38 minutes a night and stuff.
I hate
Yeah,
that they got him. But anyway, yes. Trae Young, this is it, man. Because he's got talent on this team. If you're the guy, he's got to be the dude he was in that playoff run.
This is year 8, no?
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah.
yeah, pretty sure. Yeah. No, no,
Yeah.
no.
He was
2019 was
he
his
was
rookie
20
year.
he was 20 the 2018 draft, yeah, so
Yeah, so 18, 19. So what's that? I guess this
it
is
might be 7.
7, 8 years. Yeah, I think it's 7. Trae Young needs to, because in that playoff run, he truly was great.
Yeah.
Um, and very impressive. You know, it's not talked about enough that they gave the Bucks a run for their money, and he was injured in that series. Um, you know, this Atlanta team, I think Snyder's a good coach, so I don't understand. Obviously, roster construction was an issue with them with DeJounte Murray being there. It
Yeah.
was definitely a dumb trade, but they made up for it because that trade that they made with New Orleans, you know, getting Dyson Daniels. I mean, he's arguably the best perimeter defender in the league. And you know, they got a lot of guys I really like on this team, and it's a really good, and they're more talented, I think, than that team they had a few years ago with DeAndre Hunter and Clint Capella, right, and John Collins. Like, I
Yeah.
think they're more talented. I really do, and this is it for him. Because if they have a disappointing year, I think Atlanta may move off of him, especially in a weak Eastern Conference. He really doesn't have any excuse. And I will say a Hawks Knicks series would be fun. That would be a
Yeah,
fun.
it'd be fun for everybody else.
That would be fun. That would be so fun.
It would definitely, yeah, it definitely would be.
Brunson,
Even
but listen, they didn't have Brunson that series when you played him, so Brunson will probably have a field day as well.
yeah,
But you know what? They'll probably put Trae Young on Mikal Bridges since he decides not to shoot in the last 4 minutes of a game.
that is what they did
Yep.
in the in-season tournament when we lost to
Yep.
them. They
I
put
called
Trey.
it at the time. I said if Mikal Bridges is worth that deal, then why are they putting Trae Young on him at the end of the game? They're
Yep.
hiding Trae Young on Mikal Bridges because he knows he's not going to get the ball. I guess it's the elite defense of Mikal Bridges in the final
Hopefully,
2 minutes of the game.
hopefully those things will change.
I know it
But
sounds like I'm being mean, like to the Knicks. I genuinely think like if the Knicks are in the finals, I think they're winning it. I really do.
it
If
it
they
it
if they go to the
it all
finals,
depends. It all depends on who is it we see. If it's Oklahoma City, I'd be doubtful because I think they're really good. But the
yeah,
Pacers took them to 7, and I did not expect that at all. Even with
yeah,
how good the Pacers were
yeah.
throughout the playoffs, they took them to 7, and who knows if Halliburton does not blow his Achilles?
And
Who knows what
Denver took
happens in
them to
that game?
7. Denver took them to 7 after firing their coach a week before the season ended with Michael
Yeah,
Porter Jr. and
with the
who
worst
I
defense.
already, by the way, who I already want to get rid of.
Wow.
Michael Porter Jr. I understand it was so embarrassing. Sometimes Nets fans like Michael Porter Jr. had a really good game versus Toronto in the preseason.
Yeah,
Scored
he had
like
like 30.
34
Yeah.
points. And they compared him to Cam Johnson, who I think who had like 9 in a preseason game or something. And don't get me wrong, people are definitely overrating Cam Johnson.
I think so a little
Cam
bit.
Johnson had a really good season last year. He also didn't have a good season 2 years ago. And Jordy Fernandez is a big reason. He played last year, which, you know, he doesn't really play a lot. You know, people got to notice that.
He didn't
I
start?
No, what I mean, he didn't play. Like he gets hurt.
Oh, games. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Just game wise, he gets hurt a lot. In big games, this guy will not make shots in the fourth quarter. At least he didn't for my team. Every
Yeah.
three pointer was a clank
Yeah,
in the final
right.
few minutes. I never trusted him ever. I love, you know what it reminded me of actually? It reminded me of when the Nets traded, were finally able to trade Brook Lopez.
Hmm.
Because for years they tried to trade Brook Lopez and they couldn't. Kenny Atkinson gets here. They develop him into a 3-point shooter. They were able to trade him in a year. They were
Yeah,
able
he
to get D'Angelo Russell.
completely changed his
Cam
game.
Johnson, no one would have taken him at that contract 2 years ago. Nobody.
No.
He had a great season last year. Up, Denver, great fit. We'll give you Michael Porter Jr. and take our unprotected 2032 first round pick. And Bill Simmons somehow thinks that is one of the worst trades of all time. Listen, Cam Johnson's a good fit for Denver. I'm just saying,
And
like,
in comparison, when you look at Michael Porter Jr.'s contract, it was clear that they were going to have to get off of that at some point if
yeah,
they
yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to
It was a
keep.
win-win
Yeah.
trade for both teams, but I'm just letting you know that I already want Michael Porter Jr. off my team. And
He's gonna have some nights though that
I
are,
know it's going to be great. And then the
but
second a team wants to bite, trade him.
I think
I cannot
that's what
I
they'll do.
cannot deal with what he says in the media. Or not the media. I can't
It's
deal with
on
what he says on
in
podcasts.
his free time.
I
Yes, when he
went
just
I went through 4.5 years of Kyrie Irving. I
Kyrie,
cannot deal with
right?
years of Michael Porter Jr.
And
I
I
just
don't know
can't.
where this came from because he was not like this. He's been in
By
the
the
NBA
way,
several years.
if people think Cam Thomas is a shot chucker,
No, Michael Porter Jr.
Michael Porter Jr. is a shot chucker.
He's never seen a shot he doesn't like.
He can't get by anybody.
Yeah,
I
he's
watched
not.
Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah,
play, dude. Like, he cannot get by anybody off the dribble. Cam Johnson's handle isn't amazing. People need to understand that. I think like Cam Johnson, he's just a higher IQ player. He's just a
Mhm.
high IQ player. So Michael Porter Jr. is a low IQ player who chucks up a ton of shots, and do not put him in the same breath as Cam Thomas. I just don't want to see it.
No, no. There's a difference. There's a clear difference, and people will see it because I think Cam Thomas makes an effort to
Mm,
play make
yeah,
outside of himself. I
yeah,
know people don't think he does because they're probably not watching Nets games, but
yeah.
Michael Porter Jr. is shooting the ball when he has it. Do we have any more words on the Hawks? I think they're gonna
Oh,
be
we were
good.
talking about the Hawks.
That's what we were talking about.
No, I'm
I think they're
joking.
gonna be good. It's gonna be an ongoing narrative.
I tell you what,
Trey,
they could squeeze in to that, uh, to like being like a contender.
I think they cannot be a playing team again. I think
Well,
if this
yeah,
team
yeah.
ends up in a play-in, then it's like, what is going on?
But why can't
Especially,
Atlanta be better than Orlando?
I mean, I think Orlando just has more talent.
I
I
think we
think,
trust Orlando more. I think Orlando plays better defense. I think we like Paolo better than anybody in Atlanta and Trae Young specifically. But
yeah,
if you're Trae Young, seriously, if you're a competitor, why can't you be better than Atlanta? I mean Orlando. And if you're Trae
yeah,
Young, you're probably thinking like, all right, I got Porzingis. I mean, I got I got Johnson. I
yeah,
mean,
Johnson.
yeah, I mean like
I think Ricochet is a good player. First
Jalen
overall
Johnson.
pick.
Hold on a second.
Yeah,
Is Jalen Johnson, if you put him on the Knicks, is he the second best player?
right now,
Or would you say Cat's better?
I would say Cat is still
I would say
better,
Cat's probably better, but at
but
the end of this season, maybe that changes.
and Jaden Johnson's what, like 23, 24? Like
That's what
he's
I'm
a very
saying.
young player.
He's definitely better than Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby.
I think so.
So I think we're talking about like if you're Trae Young, you thinking you're just as good as Jalen Brunson, even though we're not thinking that.
Hmm.
But if you're
But in
him,
his mind, yeah,
yeah,
you have to think that.
of course. You're like he doesn't play defense either. Would that be funny if that's what Trae Young was thinking? What, he doesn't play defense.
I mean, it's not. He's not wrong, really.
No, but
Jalen
the
Brunson
idea
doesn't
that
really
he
play
would
defense.
say that would be hilarious because it's like the point is like you should play defense, Trae.
Yeah,
You
but
shouldn't be doing
I think you're right. Some of it, I think a lot of it is on him. I
that.
mean, he's got to shoot better from the field. I think that's been a thing throughout his career. It's never really improved.
Yeah.
Some of it is his shot selection. Some of it is also his size and how easy he gets shots. Um, and he's also super high turnover, and he's also like sometimes a roller coaster. There are games where he is terrible, like
Yeah.
from the field, and he can't have those type of games if you're going to be the best player on a team that's trying to win a title.
Yeah.
And I think that's ultimately the question that will persist until he proves otherwise. Like that conference finals run, we thought it was more to come from that. All right, Trae Young, the Hawks have arrived. It ended up being kind of a fluke in a sense where they got a good road. They beat the Knicks, who were favored, but not a lot of offensive talent compared to the Hawks at that point. Ben Simmons and the Sixers implode, in the series, and then they lose to Milwaukee, and they gave them a decent series as well. But I mean, he's got to do it, or
Mhm.
else, Hawks are gonna have some questions to answer, some things to figure out.
Hmm.
Because how much longer can you have this go on?
I have a question that I just thought of, and I think it's really difficult. Are the Lakers going to be good this year?
It's a good question because when you look at the roster, it, the
Not
the,
much
pro,
there.
the problems they had last year are still there.
Yeah.
And then
I
the
mean,
additions
I
that
think Aiton's an upgrade.
he's definitely an upgrade, but there's still worries there.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Phoenix basically gave him away.
Yeah.
And if Michael Bridges is calling you soft, there's a problem.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah,
And then
is this LeBron's last year?
I don't think it is,
I don't think it
uh,
is either. I think he wants to do the whole tour.
especially because he's gonna miss the first several weeks, first month or so.
However, if the Lakers get off to a bad start, does he do the Kobe thing?
What do you mean? Like the
Because Kobe didn't announce his retirement before the season. The Lakers got off to a shitty start. He was bad, and then after like a month, he's like, "I'm done."
that's possible. I mean, I don't know if Nike would be happy about that. I feel like Nike wants
No,
it to be a big
I mean
thing, but
clearly he teased with the decision advertisement, and
the
people
Hennessy
got really.
advertisement.
That's why
Um,
people don't listen. That's LeBron's got to. I mean, he won't, but like that's the problem people have with LeBron is like, what are you doing?
I mean,
You
I don't know who that
you
deal was, but
know people are gonna flip
yeah,
out about that. What are you
for sure,
doing?
for sure. But
But listen, if you don't care what
I
people
think that's
think, you can
exactly
do
why he
whatever you
did it.
want. Yeah, that's right. I don't know. Maybe he just did it to troll. I have no problem with it, but it's just like, don't be
But
shocked when a
the people
random
are, yeah,
fan tries to sue you.
yes, that's ridiculous.
That's all.
And it's worse because it's a game against the Jazz. It's like you don't want to go to that game and otherwise.
Yeah, I know.
But it's that is an interesting question because the West we've mentioned how tough it is, and I think Luka has looked great so far. I think he's gonna look more like the Luka from Dallas before last season. Because last season, he was
Lucas
hurt,
missed
and
the play-in before,
that's true. Yeah, yes, for
like
sure.
in good years. So that's like what's concerning. Although I think with a good coach, like Kid is good, even though he's an every other year coach.
They're
Kid is the
just
definition of an every other year coach.
they're just relying on Aiton to be a defensive anchor
Yeah.
and not have a bad attitude. And then
Yeah, you
like
hope Luca just makes him better, right?
they sign Marcus Smart,
I forgot
how
about
much
that.
is left in Marcus Smart,
Yeah.
you know? And then, you got Austin Reeves, of course. He had a bad playoff series. He should bounce back. Rui Hachimura, you replace DFS basically with Jake LaRavia, who is a good young player, but how much are you expecting there?
Yeah.
They
I think
still lack.
Reeves is good.
Yeah, Reeves is great.
Yeah,
I think
Reeves is
Reeves is
great.
really good, but
And Reddick is good. Think
they're
Reddick knows what
lacking.
he's doing.
They lack athleticism. We'll see what the defense looks like.
Yeah.
You don't have LeBron for the first month.
Yeah. It
Luckily,
just seems like they're transitioning.
yeah, and transitions usually don't go pretty. Don't look pretty. They didn't offer LeBron the extension.
Mhm.
So I mean, the two options are he retires at the end of this year, or he plays 1 year somewhere else, which I just find hard to believe that he
Yeah.
does that
Yeah.
anywhere other than Cleveland. But I don't know if Cleveland is on that type of timeline. Do they want to give a year to a LeBron retirement tour? I don't know if they do.
Yeah.
Maybe if they win the title, they think differently.
Yeah.
But they're
Who's
always
your
going to be an interesting watch. We'll see how they do against the Warriors tonight. Um,
who's your finals pick?
you actually kind of mentioned it earlier. I have Denver, New York.
I have Cleveland OKC.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I have
I
the
don't know. I
Thunder.
don't know. Every year something happens to the champions in the
And
playoffs.
here's the thing. We have had 5 years now of new teams in the finals,
Well,
basically.
if you're not counting Boston making it
Yeah,
twice.
but Boston didn't make it 2 years in a row. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
we haven't had the same finals 2 years in a row.
No,
Or the
for
same finals team. I don't think 2 years in a row.
Boston's the only team that's made it twice in this
Yes, and
stretch.
they didn't make it in a row.
No,
So
yeah, it was in
I think we're
2022 and
hitting,
then
I think
yeah,
we're
24.
hitting Oklahoma City. I think for how young they were when they won it.
Yeah,
And I thought about, I think some people are going to be like, well, Denver, they were kind of on the ropes and they
people
forced
thought
them to
Denver. Yeah,
7. My theory is, yeah, but Oklahoma City just didn't know what they were. They're so young.
they were learning on the fly.
Yeah. And now they're champions. So I think we're looking at the next dynasty here in Oklahoma City. So I thought about Denver. I just think we're overrating Denver from the Cam Johnson thing. I just don't think Cam Johnson is just, I think he's an upgrade, but I don't think he's that much of an upgrade.
He's different. I think Michael Porter Jr. offensively is probably more talented,
He's
but
definitely more talented,
to
but the
fit the
problem is
team is
yes,
Cam
high
Johnson.
IQ, Cam Johnson. The Denver Nuggets are better. I'm not saying they're not better.
Hmm.
However, the second best player on this team is still Jamal Murray.
Yeah,
Okay? And there's a reason Jamal Murray has not made an all-star team.
he's a baffling player.
Just a baffling player. Now he shows up in the postseason. Great. Awesome. We'll see what it looks like with the new coach for a full year. Okay? Looked pretty
Hmm.
good in the
Yeah,
postseason, but it could have been a honeymoon effect. Maybe might have just been, oh, Mike Malone's not here, thank God. They're definitely
Michael Malone's
deeper.
not here.
They're definitely deeper, but
Hmm.
we got to pump the brakes. Bruce Brown, love that he's back. I'm a huge Bruce Brown guy, as you know.
Yep.
Um, Cam Johnson is going to be a great fit there. Is he going to make big shots in playoff games? Because I'm telling you, he did not make many big shots in Brooklyn.
I
Just
think people are
didn't.
just like the Jokic effect. Like they'll
Yeah. So
just
the Jokic effect.
that's kind of what
That's what
people's
you
belief is
hope.
in. Yeah.
That's what you hope. I just wouldn't shock me if it's the postseason and Cam Johnson's clanking everything and we're just ripping him. Cam Johnson was in the 3-point contest last year, I think, and he wasn't good. I know it's a 3-point contest. I'm just saying he's
That's
not
a
a sniper.
that's funny thing to bring up. Like he was
He's
in a
not a
3-point contest. He was
he's not a
bad.
sniper. I've seen him
Yeah.
clank big shots.
Yeah.
He's not automatic. Like this guy, he's not a killer 3-point shooter, man. Like I saw it. Now he may prove me wrong and may look stupid. It wouldn't shock me if in fact I expect Cam Johnson to have his best 3-point shooting season this season with Jokic there. And the spacing and the playmaking that Denver has and the way they move the ball wouldn't shock me.
Mm.
I just think Oklahoma City is deep, super talented, young, and they're getting better. You know?
Yeah.
Like yeah,
It's
and that's why I have
the
Oklahoma City going there. And then obviously Cleveland, we talked about it. I
yeah,
just believe Kenny Atkinson and I believe and listen, I'm sure I think Donovan Mitchell has a lot to say about people putting Brunson over him. I think Mitchell believes he's done way more in this league for longer than Brunson.
for longer for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
so
said
it's like,
he took Utah made the playoffs immediately once he got
yeah,
there and they started winning. Yeah.
and listen, he's Brunson has beat Mitchell in the playoffs twice. Um,
I mean
so
the first time it's Luca more or less, but
well, Luka was injured in that series.
oh okay.
Yeah, from what I remember. I think Luca came back late in the series. Brunson, that was kind of his coming out party.
Mm,
But it's how you scout too. Like Utah probably didn't even look at Brunson as like, oh, he's this best player on this team or anything.
yeah,
And
for sure.
That Cleveland team with Bickerstaff, that was the first time they were in the playoffs with Donovan Mitchell. Like, it's not the first time they were in the playoffs, I think. Oh, wait, no, it was the first time because the year they made the play-in but lost
For
both games, I think.
for
So,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. I think it
So,
was.
you know, I just like the way Cleveland with Kenny and those guys work, and that's my finals pick. Although I do think if the Knicks are in the finals, I'm going to be looking at it like with that home court, man. Oklahoma City's got a great home court too. I think an OKC Knicks finals would be great. I think a Denver
That was my
OKC.
pick last year.
Yeah, that was your pick last year. It
I was
was
a team off.
close.
I was
It
a
was
team off.
close.
Yeah.
What
Um,
was mine last year? Mine was Celtics, Thunder, and I think I had the Celtics winning. So I was wrong.
a lot of people were wrong. Celtics. Yeah.
And if you remember, I think had the Pacers as a disaster team
You did.
because they were 12 and 15, and
Yeah,
Halliburton
they were really
didn't
bad.
look good.
They did. They were very
And
bad.
then they won, and then they went like 30-8 or
They went
something after that.
40-17 in the
Yeah,
last
yeah,
57
40
games.
17.
I was,
So,
and they rode that through the playoffs. Yeah.
if we know anything about the NBA, especially recently, it's the regular season just doesn't matter. Um, it looks like, and depth matters more than anything in today's NBA, and it's who's healthy at the end of the
Yeah.
year. I think so. I'm really excited, man. Really excited for this NBA season. My team's gonna suck, so I'm gonna watch my team, but I'm also gonna be watching. I mean, as always, I watch every team when I can. So it's gonna be great,
Yeah.
and I can't wait to do more episodes with you, man. It's gonna be great.
Of course. It's always a fun time.
All right, man. Let's do it, and you know, go Knicks.
Go Nets. Hope you young guys work out.
uh, I'm not gonna wish the same. Sorry. No, I'm joking.
It's all right.
I hope you guys lose. See you trade for Giannis. No, I'm joking. Um,
That'll be something that definitely comes up if the Knicks are not amazing and if they don't make the finals.
yeah, it'd be
Because
interesting.
I do think really fast. I do think this is probably Giannis's last year in Milwaukee.
I agree.
I think the writing's on the wall. I think
No matter
it's
what,
just
even if
yeah.
it's not the Knicks, I
Yeah,
think it's
even if
just
it's
the
not the
best.
Knicks, I
Yeah,
think he
I
ends up
agree.
somewhere in the offseason.
hmm
It's just
I agree. In fact, I thought about putting that as a question, and then I thought that's too obvious a question. I don't think there's any chance Giannis stays after this year.
yeah, I don't
It'll
think
be interesting to see what the Turner stuff looks like, and how
that's
Milwaukee's
true.
new.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to watch them. I think they could be a team with home court advantage in the playoffs this
Yeah,
year.
they'll definitely be in the mix. Obviously
But
barring health, given.
it's gonna be fun. Let's roll. And
Can't
I
wait.
joke, I joke. But the Knicks are gonna be a team to be taken seriously this year, and it's gonna be a fun year. And it's a lot more fun when they're competent and they're good.
Yeah.
Also more annoying. So let's go.
Yeah.
It'll be a fun year, man. Good talk to you.
All right. Great seeing you.